Greetings and salutations! I thought I would take a few moments and do a fun little video here where we're going to talk about something that I was working on in the wee small hours of the morning. I figured I would share it with you guys. It's my Ubuntu 18.04 install setup script. And I'll explain what that is as we roll along. I've actually talked about this on the channel before, but it's been quite some time and I had to do a new one. So let's do a video about it, right? And then I want to talk a little bit about XBT, the external backup tool. 3.0 just released. That's the video before this one here on the channel. And every time that I do a video about XBT or talk about it, I get the same question. So we're going to do an XBT follow-up Q&A, and that will be after we talk about this. So one of the beautiful things about having a forum now, Easy Talk, is that I can post code in a place where it won't get all messed up. Because if I try and put code in a YouTube video, in the description, that can mess it up. Or if I just post it online anywhere, But one of the features of having your own forum is the fact that you can post code and then people can come along and copy and paste it and look at it and do what they will with it. So this time around, when I did my install script, I posted it here. And the basic idea is, if you find yourself installing the same stuff over and over again, let's say that you have several machines, or you're kind of like me and constantly playing around with stuff, so you're having to move things around and reinstall, then putting a lot of the crap that you do over and over again in a script makes life easy. And it's one of the most beautiful things about working with Linux is the fact that you can script anything that you can do in the terminal. So what I want to do is kind of go through this a little bit and talk a little bit about what it does. And this video, of course, is going to be for people who are a little bit more advanced. Maybe you're just learning about doing your own scripts and that sort of thing. But I figured I would share. It's very impromptu stuff here. So let us start with the script, and I have made it bigger so everybody can see it. And the first thing is it installs a whole crap load of software. So we're putting VirtualBox in here, all of the stuff that makes VirtualBox work. So if you're going to install VirtualBox from the Ubuntu repositories, you need 3 packages right up front. You need VirtualBox, VirtualBox Guest Editions, ISO, and VirtualBox Extension Pack. And you see those are the first 3 listed. And if you put all 3 of those in from the repositories, then it'll pull in everything else it needs, and you get a fully functioning VirtualBox installation. We're running NVIDIA 340 on this old machine. I got to have NetTools because I have to have ifconfig, htop, grsync, lame so I can make MP3 files, Asunder, sound converter, and Bracero Get MC, which is a terminal-based file manager that I've started to really like, Midnight Commander. And then we got to install OpenSSH server so we can reach the machine on the network. SSHFS is a definite, absolute need. Let's see, I got gedit plugin text size, and what that does is it allows you to resize the text in gedit, and I'm using that right now to do this video, so it's a very important plugin. Simple screen recorder, got to have that to record the videos, right? In Ubuntu 18.04, they do not give you the entire LibreOffice suite. They only give you selected chunks of it, even if you do a full install. So I have found that if you install LibreOffice again, you'll get all the stuff that they have decided that you don't need. And then we have Ubuntu Restricted Extras that gives you all the little lovely Microsoft fonts, so you're compatible with Microsoft documents, and it gives you a bunch of codecs and crap like that, and FFmpeg. And then I like to install MPV, which is a real super nice, reliable, stable, and very easy to use media player. VLC is in here as well in case I need something out of that. Gthumb for photo editing. We've got GNOME Tweaks, which allows you to play around with the that's how you play with your GNOME desktop and put all those extra settings in that GNOME decided that you don't need up front. Anyway. And then we have the Chrome GNOME Shell little application. What that does is it makes it so that your Google Chrome browser is integrated with your GNOME desktop Qt5 style plugins. That's important to have if you want your Qt applications to look right in Ubuntu. We've got Spell, we've got GW, and we've got Synaptic. Now, you guys might be wondering, why is there these little like things over here on your list of stuff? And all this is the character that you use to accept a line, which means, or a character. And I've just really confused the crap out of people. Okay, so I wanted it in the script to be under 80 characters across, no matter what. I don't like it where stuff goes way off long lines, and since this is a long list of stuff to install, that's exactly what would happen. So in a script, or when you want to split a line up, but you want to make it so the terminal doesn't know that the line is split. I'm digging my hole deeper, ain't I? What you do is you use that slash character, where that's the backslash, isn't it? Yep. And then whatever comes right after that, it won't be seen when bash, the command line interpreter that's actually executing the commands, it won't see it. It won't know that there is a return there at all. But when you look at it, it'll make sense. So there you go. That's what that's all about. And I hope that you understood what I said. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add me to any groups that I need to be added to. And right now the only one that I need to add myself to is VBox users. That gives you access to your USB and makes you be able to use the extension pack, basically. You've got to be a member of that group on the host machine. And then we will remove undesirable packages. And I'm not just removing it, I am purging those packages. So we'll get rid of that GStreamer Fluendo horrible MP3 garbage codec. We're going to get rid of the backup software that comes with Ubuntu, which is just called Backup in the menu, but it's called Deja Dupe. And Shotwell, which is the photo manager that ships usually with Ubuntu. I like gthumb better, so that's why gthumb is here. And then here's an interesting line that should make Alan Pope smile. What I'm essentially doing is removing a bunch of snaps that come installed with the desktop. So they put GNOME characters, GNOME calculator, GNOME system monitor, all that crap is now in a snap. I don't like that very much, so what I do is get Snap to remove it, and then I go and get it out of the repositories with apt. So that's what that line does. And the final little bit here is a lovely piece of code that I came up with quite some time ago, and that is an automatic way to get rid of Firefox and put in Google Chrome, because I dislike Firefox. I don't want it around. I don't want it running on my machines. I like Google Chrome. I'm not going to get into that, so don't even bother in the comments. Firefox fanboys, just go right ahead. Have fun with it. I don't care. I like Chrome. So the first thing that it does is if there is anything in the configuration folders for Google Chrome, you'll see we have this line here that says rm-r. That means it'll recursively remove a directory, .mozilla and .cache/Mozilla. Those will be removed if they should exist. If not, it just keep on going. And then we take out Firefox, and then we take out that little Firefox locale English. And then we have a lovely little bit of housekeeping there where we make a directory in the temp directory called gc install temp. And then we push D to that directory, which is a useful old school command in Bash that allows you to jump from one directory to a next. And it's really nice to use in scripts because you don't have to know what directory you're currently in to get back there. Very useful little command. I've shown that in past videos. So it jumps over there, and then we use wget to go out and grab Google Chrome right here. This is the command to do that. And it grabs it, and it throws it in that directory. And then we use gdeb from the command line. And what it will do now is it will install Google Chrome for us. And then we pop D, which means we go back to whatever directory we started in. That's the beautiful thing about that. It doesn't matter what directory you start with. Push D will take you wherever you want to go, and when you pop D, bam, you come back to where you are. And then we get rid of that directory in the temp directory. Just a bit of house cleaning. That's all it is. But that will exchange that for you. Now, you may have noticed, and I want to mention this because of the fact that people have said this to me before. You notice that at the end of these apt commands, I have YY. -YY. What does that mean? What that means is that this is going to automatically do whatever I tell it to, and it's never going to prompt me. Even if there's an error, it's just going to keep going. And some people have said you don't need to do 2 Ys. 1 Y will do the trick. And somewhere in a book, I would swear in a courtroom, there is a piece of documentation that says if you put 2 Ys in there, then it's more robust than if you just have 1 Y. In other words, the script won't stop. Now, I can't seem to find that in the modern apt and apt-get documentation, but I read it somewhere, and it runs and it works, so I leave it alone. So that may be deprecated at this point, but it doesn't seem to care. So that's why that's there. So there you go, because somebody will say something. And so once we've done that, the only thing we need to do here is to get our Qt applications to follow along with the correct theme. Then we add this line here. And what this does is it creates another bash environment. So sudo bash, and then tells it to execute this command as root. And the command is echo this particular variable here, qtqpa platform theme equals GTK2. That means any GTK2 theme that I have installed on the system, when I open up a Qt application, it'll follow it. You guys know if you've watched my past videos, and I'm really crazy about that. Well, I finally figured out how to do it. And I found out what I was doing wrong about scaling the fonts. I was just doing it in the wrong place, and I won't even tell you what I was doing wrong because it was so stupid. And then that's basically it. Now, the reason why I have not put more into this script is I wanted to be able to run it even on a system where my personal data isn't there. So I could go further with this. I could get this to install a bunch of packages that I have downloaded. I've got some downloaded software that's not in the repositories that I keep the packages, like MP3 Gain and old Tag Tool and a couple of things like that. And of course, XBT is now available in I almost said a snap. No, it ain't a snap yet, but it is in a deb file. Runs on Ubuntu and Debian. There you go. That's what a deb file does. Isn't that cool? So I could automatically do that, but I decided to stop here because this was enough. I can do the rest. There's some scripts I like to move in. There's some things I like to do, but I thought it's probably better to do that stuff manually because there's a little bit more variation. But this crap's not going to change. This is always going to work for the run of Ubuntu 18.04. And this is my little install script, and I thought I would share it and go through it. And my needs are very simple as far as what I need to install on my machine to make things happen. So there you go. That's it. And you can make this as big or as small as you want it to. And it's just a matter of figuring out what you need up front, putting it all in a file like this, and then turning that into a script, making it into a program. It's just a list of commands. So I thought I would share that for those of you who are slightly more advanced with Linux. Now let's move on and talk a little bit about XBT, the external backup tool, version 3.0, which has been out now for a couple days, and I've gotten some pretty nice feedback. There were some tiny issues with XBT 3.0, and what makes this one, I think really what makes this one stand out is the fact that it is now being shipped out in a deb package. That's a big deal, man. It took me a long time to figure out how to do debs. I just couldn't do it, and then I got some help, and Jeremy O'Connell was nice enough to say, okay, dummy, this is how you do this. And he sent me some notes, and it's like, now I can do deb packages now. Gee, I feel really important. It's one of them things that you get a mental block on, and you read the documentation and go, I don't know what these guys are talking about. I can't figure it out, and then I went back and did it, so that's pretty cool. But there have been a couple of little glitches here. First of all, if you have an older version like 2.0 and up, what can happen sometimes is that you go ahead and you run the deb file, and it may not update the desktop menu entry immediately. It should, but it's almost like you have to log in and log out first, because there is a difference in where you put the actual program itself if a program is being managed by the system's package manager, and in this case it's managed by apt. So I was putting it in user/local/bin, which is where unmanaged software goes. That's stuff that you create and you want to put there. And now it's actually in the user/bin folder, which is where anything that is technically managed by the... I could have put it in opt too, couldn't I? I didn't think about that. Like Google Chrome, TeamViewer, a lot of proprietary stuff goes there. That's another place for software to live. But anyhow, when you upgrade, it reflects a change in that little menu file, and sometimes the desktop doesn't catch that. It'll be cached. So you'll get all excited and you'll install it and go, oh boy, I want to see what's new, and then you'll click on it and it'll say I can't find it. So that's how that works. And yes, it does go and find the old versions of XBT. So if you have it in your personal bin folder in your home directory, it'll find it, it'll delete the old one, it'll delete it out of user local bin, and it's also going through and looking for any of the old icons and desktop, all the files basically. As soon as you run the installer, you use GW or whatever you use to install it, it goes out and looks for those old versions and nukes them off the system before it installs the new one. And thus far it seems to work, but I have had that one little problem pop up with people. Now, there are always questions that get asked every single time I talk about XBT, so I want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about it. Number one, people always ask, will I ever add a feature to exclude stuff in XBT? And the answer to that question is no. I will probably never do that. And the reason why is because the premise behind XBT as it is that it is a piece of software that will make an exact copy of what is in the home directory. And yes, it does do etc as an extra. Somebody said, well, why is it doing etc if it's just going to be about the home directory? It says, you know why? Because you can't have too many backups of your etc directory. It makes it so much easier to reconstruct a system. And really, in Linux, if you're an more advanced user, people always say, well, it wouldn't it be better to do an image of the system like with Clonezilla, and then you could put everything back? Well, no, not really. It wouldn't be. This is easier, and I'll get to that in a minute. I'm getting off the subject. I need to talk about an exclude feature. Anyway, the original idea here is that the system, when you run the software, will make an exact copy of whatever is in your home directory. And it does not do incremental backups. It does not do it in such a way that you're going to have 3 or 4 different, dates to choose from. That stuff gets really confusing, and it also takes up a lot of disk space. And somebody said, well, that makes it less than useful. Somebody posted a nasty comment, which I deleted. The truth of the matter is that I think it's the other way around. I think this is more useful in a lot of ways, because what it does is that the idea here is that you do this on external media, which means that you're not doing it on anything that's online, because anything that's hooked up to the computer, unless it's like a network drive, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, if the computer dies, if the power supply goes up in smoke, if it's hooked up to the computer, the chances are it'll send a surge to it, kill the hard drive, kill your USB drive, whatever. The idea here is to be able to take a backup and then unplug that drive and put it somewhere else safe, so you have an exact copy of what is in your home directory. And if you have an exclude feature in there, what's going to happen is that it's going to get confused. Like the restore function will not work properly if you do that. The restore function is there to just get you back to a known good state. And this program is designed to be just stupid, simple, easy. I mean, I actually wrote it with my mother in mind, because my mom is doing a lot of work and she wants to have backups. So I'm making it super easy for her to do this, and she can very easily understand the concept. Is that, okay, Mom, every time you plug this drive in and you push number 1 for the backup, when you open up this program, you're going to make an exact copy of what you have right now. That's easy for her to understand. When you start getting into incremental backups and exclusions and things like that, now we're getting more complex. Of course, you are welcome, if you want to take this script and do whatever you want with it. So if you want to go in there and edit it, and you want to add exclusions, or you want to go in there and put the stuff into the rsync commands to do the rolling backups, that's fine. You go right ahead. If you want to do that, it's great. I mean, if it's a springboard that allows you to do that and come up with your own solution, that's awesome. But I won't be adding that stuff to it. Somebody asked in the comments on a YouTube video about preserving the exact ownership of the files. And yes, there is a command that you can do that, but the truth of the matter is the way you use this, it's not necessary. Because one of the things that you can do with XBT is because it gives you access, read access to everything that is in the backup, is that you may want to take some data that was formerly owned by one user and you want to move it over to another user. And if everything is preserved exactly, it's going to get lost in that transfer anyway. It doesn't make any difference. So another thing that came up about XBT was that somebody said that they were having some difficulty with the drive formatting. That happens occasionally. To be quite honest with you, USB drives are a little flaky, and all you really need to do to make XBT recognize a drive is put a Linux native file system on it. Got to be like something that can handle extended permissions, ext4, XFS, either one. Those two are fine. It's been tested with both of those. Let's put it that way. And then label the drive XBT_drive. It's in the help. You can see that. And then the system will have enough information about that drive to be able to recognize it, and it will think that that's an XBT drive. So you want to do that. Now, that thought that I had earlier about talking about Clonezilla and making clones of things, I've had people come back and say, well, what I do is for a backup, I do this like once every week, and I go in and I create this entire image of the system, and I'm like thinking to myself, that's crazy. That's going to take forever if you have a lot of data. And you're talking about a couple hours at least to do that. You can't do that incrementally. And the truth of the matter is that image backups like that sometimes don't restore the way you want them to. You can't rely on those things to work. You can't rely on something like even TimeShift or CYA, those kind of programs where you're taking snapshots of the system. Theoretically, you should be able to put everything back. But if you have a hard drive crash fail, and you have to put a new drive in the system, those things don't work very well, and they get confused. And it's easy to get them, you get confused in the process, and then you end up with a borked system that just doesn't work. And when you're talking about doing big image files like that, that's all in one big happy file. You don't have access to it. The idea here is that no matter what distribution of Linux you go to, no matter what kind of hard drives you have in the system, no matter if you're changing things up, you're going to be able to get to that data one way or another. Even if you're just dragging and dropping that with a file manager, you can do it. So that is the point here. That's why this does. And yes, there are a million other backup solutions out there, but I don't like any of them. And so that's why I wrote my own. Even back years ago when I was administering Windows servers, I couldn't find backup software that I liked, and I wrote my own then. So this is something that is kind of important to me, and that is because, well, I mean, anybody who has ever been through the horror of losing everything, either on your personal computer or even worse yet, in a business situation, once you go through that once, then you get scared. You're always doing backups. And I'm not a big fan of putting my stuff up in the cloud. You got to remember that there is no such thing as a cloud. It's somebody else's computer, which means that you don't have you don't have control over it. So I would rather do my own local backups, and you can have more than one XBT drive. I've got backups stuck everywhere. I've got backups in other states of some stuff that's important to me, and that's the truth. So if anything happens, I can always get back to it. So they have backup sync services and things like that. I don't trust them. I'd rather just take care of it myself. It's my data, and I'm a little bit obsessive about that sort of thing. So that's why I have written this software. And it's made to be super easy to use. And I also like the fact that it's written in Bash. Some kid came on and said, "Oh, it looks like a MS-DOS program." Yeah, it's super lightweight and it gets what it needs to get done, and it doesn't get in your face. And I'm also kind of a fan of the idea of being able to write things for the terminal that you can launch from a menu. For me, that's very cool. And you can use them in a window like this, and then when you close it, the window closes. So that's kind of what I'm into right now. So anyway, I think that is all I wanted to talk about in this here little video. And your feedback is always welcome. Please be sure to give Easy Linux a like on Facebook if you are a Facebook user. Also, check out Easy Linux on the web. That's how you can get to Easy Talk as well. There's going to be a link in the description for this video to that code that I was showing you earlier in that Ubuntu install script. You can get to that exact page and take a look at it as a guest, and while you're there, you can feel free to join the fun on Easy Talk. And then check out freedompenguin.com for more about Linux. There's always cool stuff to talk about there, or look at there from all sorts of contributors such as myself. I need to send some stuff over there and get it posted, so we have stuff up there. But anyhow, that's it. Thank you for listening to me ramble on. I certainly do appreciate it. We'll do it again soon.